Good morning and thanks so much for tuning in. You're watching BQ Prime. This is Straight Talk. My name is Alex Matthew and with me is Hiral Dadia. Morning, Hiral.
Good morning, Alex.
Well, we saw a lot of chop and churn in trade yesterday at the Nifty 50 flitting between gains and losses, and particularly the Bank Nifty from the low point of the day. At one point, it had gained about 500 points. Of course, it ended off that high point as well. So a lot of chop and churn. Could that pan out today as well?
Absolutely. So what's happening in the markets is clearly, when we were talking of levels of 2400 as well, buy on dips and sell on rally. That was the clear trend that we were watching out for. And from here on as well, with the kind of selling that has again started to come in, it's happening specifically in the broader markets, but in large caps as well. It's interesting to see how the bank nifty is panning out. And as you mentioned, a good up move in yesterday's session. Bajaj Finance as well as HDFC Bank, these were two of the names which actually contributed as well. Now, it's interesting to see what's happening with the Reliance Industries and trade as well, right? The way RIL has been panning out, the key question that we're asking now is RIL oversold or where or what? Whether it's, what's happening from here on and what should be done, because from a fundamental perspective, we've analyzed it absolutely enough in terms of, what's the value unlocking that could be expected. But from a technical perspective now, what our charts indicating is going to be interesting to watch out for, Alex.
No, absolutely. And a couple of packs that were moving on the back of news. One we were speaking about in the newsroom as well. The realty pack was moving very substantially yesterday. As a whole, I think at one point it was up. The index was up about 1.7%. It ended up about 1.4% in an otherwise dreary session for the rest of the market. And this is on the back of a possible subsidy. At least that's the buzz that would boost housing sales.
Absolutely. The interest, subsidy that we're talking about as well could be positive. So let's see how, once we get confirmations on that, how it pans out. And sugar, exactly. I was just coming to that. Sugar is interesting because the kind of up move that we've seen in terms of the sugar pack over the last couple of trading sessions, clearly the way the rainfall is going to impact the yield from a production perspective. That's one of the reasons we're seeing the prices increase as well. And that's not only in the domestic markets, but globally also sugar prices have been increasing pretty substantially. I think they're almost at a 12-year high right now. With all of that said and done, the next step is going to be in terms of the exports, because this is the first year in 7 years where India is looking to ban exports in terms of sugar. They've not come out with any of the export quotas so far, so don't see that happening. And there could be a couple of other measures that the government could take as well, because usually we've seen this trend where during the festive season as well, the sugar prices start to increase. So let's see what the government comes in and does, because clearly the sugar companies are having a joyride.
Absolutely. All right. So there's a lot of individual stocks that we will focus on the back of news. But before we get to that, here, let's take a check on what the technical indicators are, or rather what the cues from the F&O space are. Agam is joining in to tell you more about that. Agam, good morning.
Good morning. Right, Alex. So the 20,000 mark on the Nifty seems very far at the moment. I know we're not too far in terms of percentage-wise, but the way we've seen a build-up, a substantial build-up in open interest and in terms of the monthly numbers, is that for now we're actually starting to see the resistance build around the 19,800 mark. That said, in terms of futures, across series, remember that we will have an expiry for the Nifty as well as the Bank Nifty, the monthly expiry this coming Thursday, the 28th. So across futures, we've seen about a 3.3% added in OI. And as far as the Bank Nifty, the rollovers are concerned, that stands around 35%. Moving on to the Bank Nifty, an addition of around 6.7% in open interest, and the Bank Nifty futures rollovers also standing at 42%. Rollovers are picking up, but it is essentially today and tomorrow where we will get to know whether or not this is on the long side or the short side, because a lot of that will also depend on the way markets move. What levels are you watching out for as far as this expiry is concerned? Well, it's a 300-point range, but as I was suggesting, 19,800 on the higher end, where we've seen substantial OI build up. And on the lower end, we're starting to see more and more build up around the 19,500 mark. There's been a lot of writing yesterday as well, and naturally around the put, because of the fact that we saw the Nifty move higher in yesterday's GF trade after hitting that intraday low. Finally, coming down to the Bank Nifty, what levels are we watching out for here? Well, on the upper end, it's still the 46,000 mark, but on the lower end, keeping an eye on the 45,500 level as well. That's where we're seeing a lot of OI build up. So these are the levels that we are playing around with. But for now, as I've suggested, 19,800 will be a tough takeout for a lot of these traders, at least over the next few days.
But speaking of the expiry, the monthly expiry also coincides with Ganesh Visarjan, as we know that Ganesh is the breaker of barriers, and so maybe that 19,800 is something that can in fact be taken up.
Absolutely. But you know what's interesting is the way there was conviction in the markets to see markets sustain above those 20,000 levels in the month of September and probably inch higher towards 300 and 2,400. That absolutely seems to be impossible, taking the numbers into consideration, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It is going to be very hard, and we're going to have to wait and watch. Like I said, that 20,000 at the moment is not even in consideration. It's the 19,900, 19,800, where we'll have to see how things develop over the next few days and weeks.
And probably this consolidation might be good as well, Thanks, Agam, for getting us the details.
Thanks,
so that's with regards to what markets are looking like, but a lot of individual names and stocks that will be in focus in today's session. One of it is L&T, and that's on the back of the buyback that has closed yesterday. So data crunching in terms of that is what Varsha has done, as well as a lot of pharma names that continue to remain in focus. Varsha standing by to get us more. Varsha, what do you have for us?
Yeah, so starting off with L&T. So L&T's first ever buyback has been subscribed 7.2 times. Now, against 3.13 crore shares that offer, the company has received 22.55 crore shares for rupees 72,160 crore. Now, the company had fixed the buyback size at just over rupees 10,000 crore. The original buyback price was 3,000, which was subsequently raised to 3,200 a few days before the buyback program opened, and the buyback was opened between September 18th and ended on 25th. Now, the bulk of the demand was from qualified institutional buyers, accounting for over 86% of the subscriptions. Under this, foreign institutional investors dominated the demand, followed by mutual funds, and the non-institutional investors accounted for less than 1% of the bids, while individual investors were at 12.4%. So this was the update for L&T. Now, moving on to the pharma companies that one needs to watch out for today. So first we have Strides Pharma, which the board approved the spinning of oral soft gelatin contract manufacturing business into Stelis Biopharma. Now, the new entity will be called as OneSource. Now, shareholders will get one share of OneSource with a face value of one apiece for every 2 shares held in Strides Pharma. Now, there's no cash consideration which has been involved, and the implied value of proposed shares issued by OneSource to Strides shareholders will be 364 per share. Now, post demerger, the promoter is expected to hold 39% in Stelis Biopharma, while 61% will be owned by the public. Now, on transfer of 3 businesses, OneSource will have an equity value of 7,550 crores, and Strides shareholders will eventually own 44% of the economics of OneSource. Then the next we have Fortis Healthcare, where company will acquire 99.9% stake in Artistry Proprietaries Private Limited for rupees 32 crore. Now, this Artistry Proprietaries hold a license for KMDA for use and occupancy of land for a period of 99 years. Now, this land is strategically situated adjacent to Fortis Hospital, making it a valuable asset for Fortis Healthcare. And an expected time period within which this has to be completed is 60 days from the date of execution of the documents. Lastly, we have InSwift Lab, which approved amalgamation of InSwift Limited with itself. Now, company will give 100 shares for every 655 held in InSwift after merger. Turnover of InSwift as on 31st March 2023 is 410 crore, while they have a negative net worth of 716 crore.
All right. Thanks so much, Varsha, for giving us those details. Certainly all important stocks to watch out for in trade, particularly Strides, right? I forgot to mention, in fact, our colleague Sajid spoke with the NSE yesterday about the possibility of extended trading. Yeah. What do you think about that?
I mean, that's going to be interesting because, in fact, we did run a poll as well.
Yeah.
And clearly, I think the last number that I saw was around 60 to 65% at least were of the opinion that we do not want extending trading hours. However, serious traders probably will want that because that absolutely helps them bridge the gap between our markets as well as the US markets as well. So that rollover that happens is going to be interesting, though they do get a break from 3:30 to 6 p.m. because the timings that they're talking about is 6 to 9 somewhere.
I think that's the primary purpose as well, right? To help price in some of those key developments after normal trading hours. But let's see how that pans out. For now, let's turn attention to more stocks that you need to watch out for. And Rishi is joining in to give you more of that information. Rishi, what are you picking up?
So firstly, there's Tata Steel, which got an upgrade from Moody's to an investment grade. So its outlook was also improved from the current stable to an positive outlook. Now, this is because Moody expects an improvement in profits as well as the debt reduction efforts that Tata Steel will undertake. This may be possibly because after the recent UK update that we got, that Tata Steel is signing a deal with the UK government and for about $1.2 billion, and it was for an electric arc furnace, which is also going to lead to a lot of cost savings. This may have possibly also led Moody's to give an upgrade. Now, it also feels that the current liquidity is sufficient to meet any of the spending needs that Tata Steel has. Following this, we have Salazar Techno Engineering, which has commissioned a zinc galvanization plant in the UP. This was something that was long awaited, and it is a 96,000 ton plant. The company is saying that it will enable it to make higher margin monopoles after this galvanization plant is commissioned. The stock may possibly react today as well. After that, we have Century Textiles. Its unit, which is Birla Estates, has launched a phase 1 of Birla Trimaya in Bengaluru. It is a residential project, and the company expects a revenue potential of about 3,000 crores from this project. Following this, we also have Sheela Foam, which is planning to raise up to 1,200 crores via QIP. It will allocate about over 1 crore shares at a price of 1,078. Which is at a discount of 4.4% to yesterday's closing price. Then there is Ujjivan Small Finance Bank, which has partnered with S&C Global Securities to offer 3-in-1 accounts, which includes savings, demat, as well as trading accounts. So this is something that is new. Within this agreement, S&C Global will handle the relationship between trading and demat accounts. Then there's DB Realty, which is set to acquire shares of Bamboo Hotel, Global Center, Goan Hotels and Realty, and BD&P Hotels. This acquisition is for 2,300 crores, and the company plans to enter into the hospitality business. So this is quite interesting because the hospitality business has been picking up post-COVID, and there's a lot of festive and World Cup demand that is also coming in. So it may probably be a good time for DB Realty to come in.
Right, so interesting names, and I think clearly Tata Steel as well as Sarasa, the two metal names actually stand out for me as well to watch out for in today's session. But moving on, thank you, Rishi, for getting us the details. But a lot of other names that Saloni is going to talk to us about as well. Specifically, two names from her list that actually stand out for me over here is a Voltam Transformers, as well as secondly, Vishnu Pungalia, wherein this will be the first earnings that they have announced post listing as well. Saloni, good morning. How do the numbers stack up, and what are the other names that you're tracking?
Good morning. So as you said, Voltam Transformers. So according to media reports, the promoters of the company are planning to sell up to 12 lakh shares, which represents over 12% stake of the company via a block deal today. So the floor price is at rupees 4,600 per share, which is at a 7% discount to the CMP. And hence the total deal value is likely to be around 550 crores. Then we have Vishnu Prakash R. Pungalia, which posted its Q1 results. So the company did exceptionally well in their top line as well as their bottom line. The revenue rose over 49%, while the net profit rose over 52%. There was also a 49% rise in the expenses of the company due to a sharp rise in the cost of materials consumed, as well as the construction expenses. However, that did not affect the performance of the company as seen by their performance. Next, we have GR Infra projects. So the bids for two projects were rupees 3,600 odd crores that were won by the company in February for the development, operation and maintenance of a ropeway in the state of Uttarakhand have been annulled. Next, we've got Wipro, which sold around 14-acre land parcel and building in Chennai to Casa Grande Biz Park for a consideration of rupees 266 odd crores. Next, we have Wellspun Corp. So the company's subsidiary, which is Syntex, has entered into a memorandum of understanding with the state of Telangana to set up a manufacturing unit in the state with a total investment of 350 crores. So this investment is spread over the next 3 years, and as the project design is at a early stage currently, the investment will not exceed rupees 50 crores in the current fiscal. Next, we've got IHCL. So the company has infused $11.5 million as equity in its Dutch subsidiary, which is eHoco. So this investment will be used by the subsidiary to make an investment in its step-down subsidiary, which is United Overseas Holding, which is in the USA, to repay its debt and for other operational purposes as well. And lastly, we've got Delta Corp, which the stock of the company hit 20% lower circuit in trade yesterday, and it closed at about 17% lower on receiving tax notice of almost 17,000 crores, which is 3 times its current market cap. And Ashish Kacholia sold 15 lakh shares, which represents a 0.56% stake in the company for rupees 144.65 a piece.
Okay, interesting update. And we'll have to see what kind of impact Delta Corp sees today as well. Thanks, Saloni.
In fact, with this, if you see Dream 11 as well, they've also got a tax notice as well in the form of GST notice.
And larger.
Exactly. So I think this will be contested as well, because it's interesting to see 1,200, 1,300 odd crores is the revenue of Delta Corp, right?
For FY23.
Exactly. And the GST demand is almost what,
16,000
right?
plus crores. Yeah.
So that kind of a number, how does it stack up, is going to be interesting. And let's see what comes out of it as well, because on the back of this, you did have a Nazara Technologies also, which was seeing a rub-off effect in yesterday's session.
Yeah, and which is interesting because I think that's primarily sentiment driven, because Nazara has gone on record several times to talk about the fact that their real money gaming business is less than 5% of the overall turnover. So again, we'll have to see where the dust settles. For now, let's turn attention, Saloni, thanks so much. Let's turn attention to the auto space, where we've got a couple of updates from brokerages on Eicher Motors as well as Maruti Suzuki. Eicher, you will remember, has been in the news on account of Royal Enfield and the kind of challenge that is being posed by the incumbent two-wheeler makers, the large ones at that, in the form of Bajaj Auto as well as Hero MotoCorp. Himansh is joining in to give us the latest details there. Himansh, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Alex. So brokerages have come out with their fresh views on the auto space with the two majors. The commentary around the auto space has been around premiumization, new rollouts, and stiffening competition. Eicher so far this year has seen the stock has been lagging the Nifty Auto Index by 24% due to stiff competition, due to relative valuation contractions. The fresh competition in from Hero Harley and Bajaj Triumph has had an impact and weighed down on the stock. The channel checks suggest that limited impact on the interest for Royal Enfield. It still stands robust, and Jefferies expects the total volumes for this fiscal to be around 76,000. Eicher has also gained market share in the medium to heavy commercial vehicle segment, suggesting underlying performance, which is good in their overall across their portfolios of products. Jefferies has raised the target price from 4,000 to 4,150 on the back of recovery in the two-wheeler segment, industry premiumization, and potential growth in exports. While pickup and recovery in the auto, speaking of pickup and recovery in the auto space, Maruti Suzuki has been very aggressive about their expansion plans, and they expect capacity to double by FY23. Now, if one calculates, it suggests a compounded annual growth rate of almost 10%. Now, this would imply heightened capex of almost to the tune of 12,000 crores per year, but HSBC anticipates this being stretched out to the next 10 to 12 years. Market share gains are contingent on achieving 30 to 35% in the utility vehicle segment. And as diesel cars are phased out, Toyota and Maruti, which have a competitive edge compared to their peers, are expected to benefit in the medium term in the form of market share gains. So overall, the price target has been revised by HSBC research for the company upwards from 11,000 to 12,000, implying a 13% upside as of yesterday's close.
I believe that the capacity expansion and the doubling of capacity will take place in 7 years.
Yeah, 7 years. Right.
Slip of the tongue where you said FY23. But let's talk about the other updates from the primary market you've been tracking. What can you tell us about
that? Yes, absolutely. So there have been 3 mainline IPOs that have been live as of now. So we have Manoj Webb of Gems and Jewelry, where the offer is expected to close tomorrow. And so far, as of day 2, yesterday, the offer has been subscribed by 58% or 0.58 times. Now, the maximum amount of subscription you see here is from the retail investors, which have subscribed 0.73 times. Then we had 2 IPOs and offers that were launched yesterday. JSW Infrastructure, where the offer closes on September 27, and in the price band of 113 to 119, with a lot size of 126 shares. The company has raised 1,260 crores from anchor investors prior to the IPO, and the total issue size is of 2,800 crores. The IPO was subscribed 0.43 times as of day 1, and retail investors have already subscribed over one time, which is 1.38 times. Just to give our viewers some color, JSW Infrastructure is a port-related infrastructure company. It is also the second largest port operator in India by cargo handling volumes. Now, coming on to Updater Services, which launched its IPO along with JSW Infrastructure, and the offer is again going to be closing tomorrow on September 27th. The price band for this offer is between 280 to 300, and the lot size is 50 shares. The IPO has been subscribed 0.06 times so far. And Updater Services is a business management platform, and it competes with the likes of Quest Corp, SIS Limited, Team Lease Services amongst its listed industry peers. Lastly, we have Novava Wealth Management, which was formerly known as Edelweiss Securities, and this company will be listed on the bourses today. In 2020, investment from PAG had invested in the firm, and about 9% are still held with a couple of promoters from Edelweiss Securities as well.
That's lots of action in the primary market as well. Thanks, Himansh, for getting us the details. So both Aisha and Maruti will be in focus. Maruti is interesting because now we're talking of a 12,000. Earlier, 10,000 was a key milestone, which was interesting to watch out for. Exactly. And now there are targets that are coming in already for a 12,000. So let's see how that stacks up and the action that we see in the primary markets. But clearly, if you see Gift Nifty as well right now, today's session, it does indicate a muted start. Whether we're able to pick up in the second half of the trading session or not is going to be interesting. But from the data that Agam has been giving us as well, does not seem to be like a very strong session. It seems to be slightly somber, as well as that consolidation is expected to continue. That's all that we have on this session. Thanks for watching, and lots more lined up on the other side. Please stay tuned to BQ Prime.